we're very early doors into the new government. We have seen in the press and we've seen as brokers, we have seen movements in the money markets with regard to mortgages. So residential rates are coming down more so than buy-to-let rates. They are still staying resolutely high. The ICR rate, or the stress rate that sits behind our buy-to-let portfolios, has come down slightly, so that's enabling a lot more lending. So existing landlords do need to go and have a little speak with a broker, purely because there are deals out there now where previously 12 months ago you would have struggled to move mortgages if you were looking to remortgage. But with regard to the change in government, has been reductions in interest rates, whether that's because lenders are more confident in the money markets, I'm not sure. Certainly the agenda has been to build new properties and new houses, so they are really looking to engage in the property market, and therefore mortgages will be affected. They'll want to make it look attractive for a lender to buy a new property. In terms of the lenders that have come out of the blocks first, we have got HSBC, who've been consistently reducing rates this year. We've got Santander, who've had a slight reduction. We've had Accord, who belong to the Auction Billing Society. They have reduced their rates. Now, other lenders have done lots of other things rather than reduce their rates. So they've altered their lending criteria. So very often people think that mortgages we pick a mortgage, or recommend a mortgage rather, based on the lowest rate. In this modern world that we're in today, we might start at the list at the top, and we have to work down to the first lender that will meet that client's circumstance, whether that be through income, type of income, age, etc. So a lot of lenders are actually promoting themselves based on unique lending criteria rather than just going for the lowest rate. So an example of that, which is fantastic, is the Nottingham Building Society, who've just launched a range of products for non-UK nationals without a definitive amount of time in this country and at the end of their visa. So lots of clients who support the NHS, for instance, are now able to get on the property ladder quicker, which is far better. But there's lots and lots of changes out there when it comes to lender criteria, and we're being able to get cases through that previously we wouldn't. So some lenders are going for a reduction in rates, and others are going for a change in policy to make it easy to lend. And that all comes with confidence in the markets. The more confident a lender is in the market, the more likely they are to take risk with a loan. The more negative they feel the market is, or more dangerous it is for them, they will reduce down their risk appetite and therefore reduce what they want to lend. So that it is pleasing to see that we are seeing lenders looking to open their doors to more borrowers. So if you're looking to have a chat to somebody about a mortgage, as we were discussing, things have changed a lot. The landscape has changed a lot in the last 12 months. Also, the reduction of the interest rates will mean the affordability stretch will be greater. So you may have spoken to an advisor or a bank 12 months ago and been told you could lend, say, 120,000. With the reduction of rates that we've seen in the last 6 months, the stress rate will have dropped both on the residential mortgages and buy-to-let. So therefore, your income stretch may have increased. So I would encourage anybody, certainly if they've got either a remortgage or they're looking to get on the housing market, to pick up and have a chat with a broker. If you'd like to have some free and no obligation advice from myself, my number is detailed below. It's all about you as the client and making sure it's the right thing, and you'd be surprised what a difference 12 months can make in the mortgage market.
Okay, so as expected, Labour won the election with a bit of a landslide. The turnout was quite poor though. Labour only resulted in getting 1.6% more votes than they actually had under Jeremy Corbyn. So it just goes to show that people are quite disillusioned with politics in general. What's the fallout? Well, at the moment, there's very little being said. Labour's manifesto was quite thin on the ground. This was more about Conservatives losing the election as opposed to Labour winning it, in my opinion. The couple of things that they've committed to are not raising taxes for what they term the working man. Income tax, VAT, is not going to increase, but please take that with a pinch of salt, because as we know in politics, nothing ever is really set in stone. There is a lot of speculation though, and people have been concerned around changes to potential investment income tax rates, inheritance tax rates, and the effects on pensions as well. Just over 12 months ago, Jeremy Hunt removed lifetime allowance on pensions, and Labour were very quick to say at the time that they would reintroduce that. This just goes to show how things aren't set in stone. because they have announced since then that they may not do that. The reason they may not do it is it actually drives out people from senior positions within the NHS, civil service, because it would have a serious impact on that. And what's happened previously with those people who have breached lifetime allowance, they've actually left the industry much sooner, which has created a big gap in experience within those places. Last time I spoke, we talked about interest rates and the fact that I didn't expect any changes to that before the summer. We're probably at the point now where I do expect to see something happen. Inflation's now down at 2%, which was always the target place. They may hold fire a little bit longer, but I do expect that to change before the end of the year. Mortgage approvals are actually up, which is surprising because building locally is actually slowed down. The best 5-year mortgage rates on offer at the moment are a little under 4.4%, but the 2-year rates aren't much higher at just over 4.7%, which goes to show that the banks are still nervous around interest rates, certainly in the short term, and are finding it very difficult to price these. This is another reason why we may not see a great deal of movement from a house purchasing perspective, because while mortgage rates are as high as they are, people are nervous about taking on much bigger loans. And when they don't understand or aren't aware of the income tax position or the personal tax position, again, they may be reluctant to take on bigger debt. From a stock market perspective, the election result has already been priced in. As I'm sure everybody's aware, unless you've been hiding under a rock over the last 6 months, Labour were always predicted to win the election, so the markets have already priced that in. I don't think we're going to see any major changes though until the autumn budget, so hold fire making any rash decisions before then. But if you are concerned or just want to talk things through, then please feel free to give us a call at Hadlow Edwards. Our contact details are on the screen below.
Labour's headline is 1.5 million new homes being built in the next 5 years. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, now Prime Minister, did say that Labour would bulldoze their way through the current planning regulations because he believed them to be restrictive. There's going to be some green belt areas that in the past have been regarded as sacrosanct in terms of no building happening. Brown belt areas will be looked at. Brownfield site areas will be looked at. There's also this new definition of grey belt, which is a new one on me, but defined as pockets of green belt that are no longer nature rich or beautiful, scrubby and run down. And those areas will be targeted as well. The incoming government have looked at some studies that have identified 18 to 24-year-olds. You're talking about a quarter of people within that age bracket, when surveyed, believed housing and the unavailability of housing was one of the top 3 issues that was facing our country. If you go to 25 to 49-year-olds, that went from 30% to just over 40% of people included it in their top 3 issues. Another interesting innovation is that there's going to be a classification on land being sold for development, and that classification is hope value. And what that in essence means is if anybody is selling a piece of land to a developer for potentially developing that land, the seller will be able to demand a higher price for that land, because after obviously planning permission being given, it will hold a far greater value than it will do prior to that planning permission. And the government wants to encourage people to sell land to developers to get towards this 300,000 houses a year total. There's always going to be local concerns about that properties should be built for local people that are very few, or certainly less, local people who can buy properties at 400,000. So therefore, these developments have got to reflect local need and local demand. Now, Angela Rayner said in a speech in Birmingham prior to the election that they will be holding building companies to account, in that they will have to, within any large developments, they have to have a proportion of social housing and affordable housing as part of the overall plan for that development. Again, it's a grand plan. We'll have to see how it works.
Are you looking to sell this summer but unsure of where to start when it comes to preparing your home? Why not make your bathroom the star attraction for potential buyers? Here are 6 simple tips to get you scrubbed up and hopefully sold. Firstly, let's talk about clutter. We all have it, but buyers don't want to see it. So get those bits and bobs tidied away and be ready to impress. Buyers will have a keen eye for grime, so make sure your bathrooms are thoroughly clean and sparkling in order to impress. Got leaky or rusty fittings? A couple of new taps or maybe a modern shower head can revitalise the tired elements of a room and create a fresh and stylish feel. Storage is always a great addition to bathroom spaces, so get some shelves or baskets in to really sell the space and offer buyers an idea of where they'll be able to keep all their pampering products. If you're looking to add a sense of luxury, a few splashes of greenery can add life and a fresh feel to your bathrooms. Pop in a few plants to create a more nature-inspired vibe. Nothing finishes off a spotless bathroom like a fresh lick of paint. Bright and neutral colours can make your room seem bigger, so add a fresh coat to really sell the spaces. So there you have it. Follow these tips and your bathroom should ensure that you're awash with buyers.